Hi, friends. Welcome to the power of circles. One radical concept that I'm going to introduce to you right from the start that may be interesting is that in the last few years, actually in the last few decades, the concept of alignment has risen to the fore as being sort of like the gold standard of how to do yoga correctly, how to do yoga safely, and that if you're injured at all in your life while you are doing yoga, right? If you experience injury, in any period of time when you're also practicing yoga, it's probably because your alignment was off. As if there are, and this is actually a term that a lot of people have used, universal principles of alignment that are true for everybody and that will prevent injury, will keep you healthy, will make your yoga practice good for you. And this is not based on anything. This is a pseudoscientific concept that has become a popular way of establishing a sort of legitimacy in the yoga world, right? It's getting a little heady and maybe getting a little more controversial than you might be interested in. But when we say something is a pseudoscience, what we mean is that it gives the appearance of having scientific legitimacy or authority whilst not actually being based in any science. And that's what this term alignment is. Now, in a common sense way, yeah, sure. Lining things up, how you're bearing weight, having some sense of what appears intuitively to represent a structurally sound way of holding your body in different positions, yeah, that makes some sense. But at a deeper level, when we really start to look at the body, so if you study anatomy, if you do anatomy dissection, if you learn more about biomechanics, if you learn more about the exercise science and sort of the integrating fields around this whole beautiful, mysterious, fascinating topic of the human body, what you find is that, for example, your bones are spirals. Your bones are not just straight line levers. Your body is not a machine. Your body has this beautiful organic kind of way that all the different structures are not layered on top of each other. They're woven through one another. The inside of one thing is the outside of another. The joint does not just move in a uniform kind of way. There's variation in terms of how joints move, and there's also a kind of beautiful asymmetry in terms of how your body actually functions when it's functioning correctly, right? Everything is not linear, right-angled, straight-line geometry with perfectly symmetrical functioning. That's just not biomechanics. That's not anatomy. And so to impose a machine-like angular model onto the body, while we understand that the motivation for that was good, right, and sincere, it's actually not the best way of thinking about the body. And I want to suggest to you that we can think about the body in much more organic, rotational, spiraling, um, non-linear, experiential kinds of ways that I think not only are scientifically more accurate, but they're also experientially more liberating because it takes the emphasis away from some artificially imposed aesthetic uniformity, right? That has to do with straight line geometry, and it takes it much more into this experiential sense of inclusivity because bodies are different and joints are shaped differently. There's a lot of variation. Bone length is different in different people. Your proportions, right, are different. So these things I think are all really valuable to bear in mind. When we start to talk about the power of circles, what we're talking about is joint rotations. And there's a particular methodology that I've studied that I've found incredibly beneficial for myself and for some of my private clients over the last few years called functional range conditioning. And what I'm going to share with you today is a set of joint rotations that remind your body how joints optimally are able to function and should be functioning. And so over time, if you practice the power of circles, what you will find is that you reclaim healthy range of motions in areas, healthy range of motion in areas that may have lost it for various reasons, right? Due to lack of use, due to lack of strength or stability, due to perhaps injury, perhaps just not using your body in a variety of different ways and only doing specific movements or specific practices, or perhaps not doing anything at all in a particular area for a period of time, which happens to a lot of us. The way that this is going to work is I'll show you a joint circle. We'll practice it together. with every single one of these joint circles, what I'm going to want to have front and center always as a priority is that you stay out of pain. If you can't complete the circle, that you sort of feel your way through how you can work around the stuck place, how you can work around any sense of discomfort. We don't want to be in discomfort while we're doing that. We'll practice the circle, and then we'll do a level 2 version of the circle, which includes something called irradiation, where you firm up your whole body and you kind of drive neuromuscular impulse or energy, if you like, into that particular area so that it becomes a strength training technique where you're actually training everything around that joint to get stronger and more articulated, right? You're actually using your brain. You're using the parts of your brain that have to do with sensing your body and driving motor impulse into specific areas to get more embodied, to get more articulated, to maybe color in with more detail an area in your brain that is maybe just a sketch, right? Or maybe has some missing pieces in terms of how fully engaged and aware you are of that area. So that was longer than I had intended, but hopefully I'm starting to get you interested and curious about this stuff. Ultimately, everything we're going to do is going to be experiential. And why don't we jump into it right now?